All right. It's Wednesday. It's been a very fast week for me. I don't know about you guys, but it's going by quick as we wind down to Christmas here. Now that we're through Thanksgiving, it always seems like the end of the year goes really quick. You try to enjoy it, slow down at work and like enjoy the holiday spirit. I don't know what you guys drink. Oh, thank you, my wonderful wife. With the holiday cup. Look at her, Snoopy. Wonderful wife with the tea. Thank you. So I don't know what you guys are drinking up there in Oklahoma City, but I like it. I like your Kool-Aid. The the amount of Christmas cheer that's going on in Oklahoma City is wild. There are lights everywhere. It is Christmas town up there. So very cool to see. I really enjoyed the atmosphere up there. Good people. Was a little brisk in the 20s both mornings when I was there. Glad to be back here in Dallas. We did put on 2 dinners while we were up there. And we do have another one here in Dallas on December 9th. So if you want to partake in that, you and your spouse or you and your crypto buddy, we do have that available for people. And you can just email us for the link if you would like to attend one of the dinners. Get to meet me. We have, some people from our team there. I give a whole spiel about all the stuff that we do and answer all the questions that people might have. I used to do, one-on-one consults with people, and I have a hard time justifying the price for just 30 minutes over a Zoom call with me. So we changed that over to the dinners, and we were oversubscribed in both of those dinners there in OKC. We had about 50 people the first night, and then we had about 40 people the second night. So really excited to have those going. And I think people got a lot of value. The feedback on them was great. And so we're excited to do the first one here in Dallas, December 9th, next week on Tuesday. So again, if you would like to attend one of the dinners and come down here to Dallas and stay and enjoy some time, we'd love to have you. And all you got to do is just email us. It's info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. That's info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. And just asking for the link for the dinner, and they will send it over to you. And then some other fun, fast news for you guys before we get into all the questions that you guys have tonight. I got a super chat that apparently I missed from Sam from the UK that I'm going to get to first off, because I don't like when I miss super chats for people. It does happen. We do have a webinar bright and early tomorrow morning. It is on insurance. So if you want to understand, what that's going to look like, this person says, is it $5,000 for the couple or a piece? It's for the couple. Yeah. So, and we cover your hotel room and the dinner for the $5,000. Like I said, I had a hard time charging $5,000 for somebody for 30 minutes on a call. I don't know. I mean, I can give some people $5,000 worth of value for sure. But a lot of people were paying that I don't know. I just didn't feel right about it. So we want to make sure that, you're going to get additional value coming down here to Dallas. So anyway, back to the insurance deal. We have a webinar tomorrow morning. If you guys want to check that out, I have Carl on there with me. He's our CEO of the insurance company that we have underneath Digital Ascension Group, Exure Legacy. And we're going to talk about whole life insurance. We're going to talk about PPLI, which is private placement life insurance. We're going to talk about IULs or universal index life insurance. All these are different tools. So a lot of people kind of sell you, one thing or another that they make the most money off of. I don't like to do it that way. I want to make sure that people get the best thing for them, even if we don't really make anything on it. PPLI really don't make much on that. But it can be a very lucrative way for people to continue to grow their assets and protect them over the long term. We do premium finance, talk about, term policies that you can convert into whole life policies and all the other fun stuff that I've done. And then things I've done for my children or my child. And, because I like to speak from firsthand stuff and explain things, why I do things. And then people can make their own decisions about what they're doing. This is probably a good time for my disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a licensed insurance person. I don't have any of those certifications to be able to give you guys advice. Everything stated here is for entertainment and educational purposes only. If you need, insurance or legal or tax or financial advice, I would suggest reaching out to somebody that's licensed in that field, either a CPA, accountant, a licensed insurance professional, wealth advisor, or an attorney, which we do employ. We have lots of those people that work for us at Digital Ascension Group, and we're happy to share those people with you. Or we have other people outside of our group that we've worked with in the past that we're happy to share their information also. I just want people to have resources and start to think about these things before price appreciation, and make sure that you, again, even if you don't work with us, you're able to have the conversation with other people and figure out for yourself what's going to be the best thing for you and your family, right? We charge fees on things. Sometimes it might not be a good fit for the way we do things in the way that you want it done, but somebody else might be. But as long as you're educated and you understand, what you're looking for, why you're looking for it, and how it fits with your stuff, then I did my job, right? Like, that's what I'm here to do, is provide people the educational material and the information so that they can either learn it. Again, I don't know everything. I'm not the end all be all, but at least start looking here, and then you can continue to educate yourself and make sure that you're aware of what's going on. Because post price appreciation, which is not very far from now, I'm seeing so many things that we'll talk about here in just a second that lead me to believe that we're right here on the precipice of things. You just don't want to be in a position where you're behind the 8 ball and people can take advantage of you, and you don't understand what's going on, and they pull some wool over your eyes. That happens, especially when there's a lot of money involved on things. And so, and again, vet us, look at all the things that we're doing. Again, we may not be the best fit for everybody. We do all these things, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure people have the best options available for them, and they understand what they're doing. And it's a lot of what we do in the mastermind. We have a lot of people there that get some education and at least start their journey down that road in the mastermind. We are going to remove the $2 initial deal here in the very, very near future, sometime in December. We're going to take that away. So this is, probably one of the last calls on that. If you do want to join the mastermind, we're around 15,000 people at this point. And they're all fantastic people, but it's becoming a lot. And, we're thinking about, shutting it down here in the very near future for public access. So if you do want to participate, if you're on the fence about it, very near future, we're taking away the $2 deal, but it does still work for now. So if you want to use that code Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, like Mary Oscar, it gets you the first month for $2 there in social and Carbon One. And again, on the other side of a $10 XRP, but even before then, we might, pull it off there, because it's a lot of people, and we want to make sure that those people are protected. We just want to enhance the security around things, and we think moving to an invite only model and a much higher price point is going to be the best way to do that. So again, if you're on the fence, might be last call on that for you. But anyway, we'll move on to all the wonderful questions that you guys have. We do have, again, a lot going on in macroeconomics. I had a question from a gentleman earlier before I jumped to this one from Sam here. He asked me about, the banking license for Ripple and the Fed Master account. That could definitely coincide with the price appreciation on XRP. I do, we just had Ripple get their license for full, ability to operate in Singapore. They're full bore over there in the Middle East and UAE. Seem like they're set up globally. I don't know of anywhere that they really aren't licensed to be able to operate at this point with all the money transmitter licenses and everything that they need across all those jurisdictions. They've made these acquisitions this year. They're ready to rock, man. I think they're undervalued at $40 billion, where Citadel and Fortress just invested on the last round. So with the price appreciation of XRP that's on their balance sheet coming very soon, I think that they may end up going public at around 100 billion, if not substantially higher than that. We've got 5 or 6 companies listed on the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange that are over $1 trillion in value. very confident that Ripple is going to be in that unique rare air among those companies in the not too distant future. Um, really excited for everything that they're doing. We had Brad just was there in the UAE speaking the Binance event. A lot of crypto people over there right now. It's a good time to be in Dubai because it's cooler than it normally is. December cools off a little bit over there. Same thing for January, February. So if you are going to go to Dubai, all the times that I've been has been between November and February, and it's been very nice. Weather has been great. It did rain one day when I was there, which is very unusual. They do obviously do the cloud seeding and the other stuff over there to continue to try to cultivate that, but they don't really have any gutters. The gutters they do have fill up with sand, and so it's not great when it rains in Dubai. It floods bad. But the rest of the year, if you're there during the summer, it's 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Not great. But during the winter over there, it's very nice. I enjoyed both my times over there in the past, and I do think that we will be going back in the near future. So with all of that, and you got the downgrade on Tether's collateral, you've got everything else coming here with the ETFs gobbling up all of the supply on the OTC desk, and the dark pools, and then the yields keep rising there in Japan. We've been talking about the reverse carry trade for 18 months here, and it was the first time I put out the video, March of 2024, and here we are at the end of 2025, and it looks like the perfect storm is culminating to see XRP rise very, very high in the not too distant future. So I'm going to jump into these couple super chats I got here, and then we'll run it down with you guys. Again, appreciate you taking time out of your Wednesday night to come hang out with me and ask great questions. So Sam from the UK, again, apologize for missing your super chat. He says he's on the night shift as a first responder. Thank you for your service, my man. People don't realize the stuff that you have to deal with, and I really do appreciate people that are able to work in your line of work. So thank you. He says, do you think, as you detail the reverse carry trade, you have shown the enemy their plan and they will be able to stop it from happening somehow? It's too far along at this point. Everything's pretty much backed into a corner, and it doesn't matter which way they go. If they print more money or if they raise interest rates, which are really the only two levers they have left, both directions cause horrible economic chaos. The only solution that they have is to move to real-time settlement and raise the price of this to be able to offset the debts from all of the printing that's happened globally. And so they can squirm and push and kick and do whatever they want. And people talk about like good and bad. There obviously are bad people in this world. And there's a reason I want a seat at the table. I actually want to know why they've been doing this to people and what's going on, and if they are working in people's best interest and we just don't know all the details, or if people really are malicious and they're not good and they need to be removed. So when you say the enemy, I think history is written by the winner. And I think that there's a lot of things that may have been perverted in what you know about history that just very, do some research. Again, I won't get into the political stuff or any of the other things. I have my own thoughts about stuff, but very interesting if you look back at how things were written and how things really happened, if you are able to find any of that information. The internet's a wonderful thing if you use it. So anyway, back to the reverse carry trade. No, I don't think that there's any stopping it at this point. And if anything, oil is really the last piece of it here. You've got Venezuela, you've got Russia, you've got the conflict between Iran and Israel. Any one of those could, or all three of them at the same time, could push oil substantially higher, and that will be the catalyst that pushes Japan over the edge. They've come out and said that they're going to raise interest rates here in December. The Fed looks hawkish or dovish, excuse me. They're going to lower interest rates as well, and that continue to it's going to compress the spread there that people are making on that trade. One way or another, we're going to see this puppy unwind, and it is going to be very ugly for traditional markets and assets at scale. It's going to be tens of trillions of dollars that get sucked out of these markets, and the liquidity and the margin that's been built in over the past 25 years is all going to flood back to Japan as they rotate out of our treasuries and into their own. So horrible to say that I'm excited for that to happen, but the world will be better off after it does, for sure. And to your point here, you said the enemy. If the enemy is against transparency and efficiencies and the adoption of this technology, then yeah, I would agree with you. So appreciate the super chat. We'll continue on here with the next one. We got Levi. He says, which is my middle name, which is interesting. Appreciate you. He says, Jake, my man, nobody in my family knows I have XRP. That's probably a good thing, Levi. I don't have enough to get my LLC, but my bag puts me in the top 10% according to the charts. What should I do? Pinching pennies. I just hang on, my man. If you're in the top 10%, so that's going to give you, well, we'll look it up here. If you guys don't know, you can go to rich-list.info, and it will pull up current statistics. So for the XRP ledger, top 10% means you're holding more than 2,300 XRP. These numbers continue to fall as more and more wallets get created. We're currently at, what's the total amount of wallets here? I don't see it. Oh, here it is. 7.361 million wallets for XRP. So you're in the top 736,000 wallets if you're holding more than 2,300 XRP. So congrats on that. We're going to need some pretty substantial price movement before you're going to be in a position to worry about the $30 million gift tax threshold here in the US, if that's where you reside. And that's why, we talk about $50,000 to $80,000 in current portfolio value for the LLC is, if I'm right and things move to 4 digits very quickly, those people have $50 to $80 million. Definitely over the gift tax threshold of $30 million between you and your spouse, or $15 million individually when it comes to 2026. So there's a way that you can compress that amount and get it into a trust and get it out of your estate if you did want to gift a larger portion of that. The way that you would do that is if it's in the LLC, then you can gift small portions of equity to other people you want to take care of. So your children, brother, sister, friend, whoever it is you want to take care of. And because you now have minority interest on the cap table for that corporation, when you get a 409A done, which is a valuation, it's a formal valuation on a company, it has less enterprise value because there's minority owners and somebody that was going to buy that, even though the assets may be valued at $50 million, they would only be willing to pay, call it $30 million, which just happens to be right there at the gift tax threshold. And then you could gift all of the equity in that corporation out of your taxable estate into a trust if you wanted to do so. There's benefits to being structured ahead of time. Again, setting up a bank account, seasoning that in if you are going to take large profits on the way up, or if you do plan to use the XRP to borrow against it and move that amount of money into a bank account for you to be able to use out of your company, or if you're going to put the XRP to work and generate cash flow off of it, that's going to be generating somewhere between 5 and 7 digits a month. You probably want to have a seasoned in bank account and a relationship with somebody before price appreciation. And you definitely want a business account doing that, because if it's in your personal name and you've never moved more than 5 or 6 digits through your personal bank account, it's going to throw up a lot of red flags to the bank, especially if it's coming from crypto. And, there's a high potential that it's going to get flagged or frozen. So again, doing these things ahead of time does provide a lot of benefit for the amount that you have, my friend Levi. 2,300, or let's call it 5,000, just because you said you're in the top 10%. You're going to be okay. Even if it goes to, $1,000 a piece, and I'm right by the end of the year here, or even in the not too distant future, if it's Q1, whenever that happens, because it's going to happen, you'll be okay. You'll be able to, set the LLC up later. You're probably better off continuing to dollar cost average as you can, living on that ramen, as a lot of us have done for years at this point. Trying to penny pinch, like you said, just stack as much as we can to make sure that we have something to be able to change our trajectory in life and the lives of our children and children's children, right? So this would be generational wealth for people. The common person, this is probably the one time you can participate in this type of stuff in a millennia. And, I talked about that last time on the live. Hard for me to really explain to people the opportunity that this is in comparison to other ones. There are people that are older and smarter than me and wiser that have said, oh, you'll have more once in a lifetime opportunities. I don't know how to impress upon you that this is it. There's not going to be another one of these for sure, especially after the advent of AI and blockchain and the efficiencies that are created. There's going to be a reversion to the mean, and the volatility in markets is going to be far, far less than it is today. And volatility is good and bad. You can lose a lot of money, but you can make a lot of money in a very short period of time. So with that, we'll move on to the next question here. We got like a champ. He says, "Hey man, good to be here. Appreciate you being here. First time I've been able to make it. I've seen about what you say. What if the Clarity Act gets passed before the oil spike? Then there'll be some other options. But you did hurt. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Brad is super bullish on Clarity. He wants it for the whole space. And he says he feels it's not going to be till 2026 that the Clarity Act gets passed at some point in the first half of the year. Well, that gives a good bit of room here for the reverse carry trade to unwind and oil to spike and everything that I've been talking about to happen. I made a bet for the end of the year. We got 27 days. We'll see what happens. But either way, I'm extremely confident that this is all going to transpire before they do pass the Clarity Act, with the government shutdown and midterms and everything else that is going on right now. It's very unlikely that any of that will get passed in a reasonable amount of time. It's going to take probably later into Q1 at a minimum before that gets passed. And so, just understanding that, again, 99.99999% sure that we are going to see a big jump in XRP because it's going to be the only option. Mr. Shook, how are you, sir? He says, Beyond Broke, Mastermind, Carbon 2 here, just waiting on one signature. You and me both, brother. Christmas might come early. We'll see. Oh, this is apple tea. Very nice. My wife's wonderful. They say, please give me some good news on the monthly product that I've been eagerly awaiting. Thank you so much for your knowledge and encouragement. I still owe you. I said still owe you an old fashioned when we meet. I'm game for that, man. I did have one old fashioned at each dinner, which were both very nice. And again, shout out to Desmo. I said this in the mastermind the other day, but he sent me an old fashioned kit to the office. So thank you for the bitters and all the good stuff to be able to make my own old fashions. It was very cool and a very thoughtful gift. Thank you. So Mr. Shook, yeah, we're very close to being able to provide that yield product. It may end up being, we got to test some things and make sure, move real money through it first. So it may end up being like, I don't know, 1st of January when we're able to roll that out. So it'd be, like right as 2026 happens, we will have a yield product on your XRP that pays you 4%. And it is a monthly payout. So 4% annually. So it'd be annuitized, it'd be over a monthly return. It'd be like 33 basis points or 30 basis points a month that you would make on your XRP, guaranteed, riskless, no counterparty risk. And I think you guys will be happy with who we have that we're working on that with. All right. We got this next gentleman. He says, hey, Jake. What's up, dude? I am curious. In DeFi protocol, I used 46K, 20,000 XRP to borrow 13 with a HF of 2.0. Not sure what HF is. Is that good enough cushion to cover in case a drop, reverse carry trade, or is it still risky? I'm assuming you're talking about LTV or loan to value ratio with HF. Not sure what HF stands for. So if you put up, yeah, I mean, that's what is that? It's about a fourth, a little less than a fourth. Yeah, you should be fine. I mean, who knows, right? It's going to be volatile when this deal unwinds. And people ask me all the time, which direction is XRP going to go when it's unwinding? I don't know. I just know what the long-term outcome is. I know what happens post reverse carry trade. Okay. There's going to be extreme volatility when that happens. The VIX is going to spike. All hell is going to break loose. Excuse my French. It's going to be ugly for every risk on asset and risk off asset. It's not going to matter where your money is. There's going to be a 50% haircut, and maybe more in crypto, right? Because I think that there's going to be implications for Tether and Bitcoin that could cause even further downside. I think when this goes, it is what's going to cause 99.9% of crypto to go to zero on a lot of these tokens. Okay. If you're not in the 70 to 100 networks that are going to be used on the other side of this deal, it's a big fat zero on your report card. Okay. So if that tells you anything, there's absolutely going to be a ton of liquidity that is gone forever. There's 50,000 plus crypto tokens. Whittle that down to 50 to 100 tokens is all that's going to be left when Tether unwinds and all this stuff happens. So how does that affect the 50 or 100 that will be around? Your guess is as good as mine, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some sell pressure on them. There's no limit down or locking of markets. Obviously, the exchanges will probably make it difficult to trade during that time. They always do. If it's in a smart contract, if it's in a DeFi protocol and it wicks, you're getting liquidated. It's gone. This person says YouTube is down. All right, very weird. All right. What about the chat? Oh no. Did it kill my chat? I guess so. Dang, man. All right. Well, I tried here. I had something weird going on. Oh, all right. We're back. Good. I thought I lost all you guys' chats. I was about to be very sad. So anyway, inside the mastermind, we do have the ability for people to be able to borrow against their XRP. Also, we are the only ones that have that. We have an exclusive relationship with that lender. So, and it's again for carbon 1 or higher. And again, you can join that for $2 and get access to that. You are likely going to need an LLC. So just be cognizant of that. They don't have the money transmitter license in Texas to be able to facilitate this. And there's a few other states also that if you're trying to participate through your personal name, probably not going to happen. If you have a Wyoming LLC, all day long. And that's, again, another recommendation that we, provide people and also help people establish if they want to work with us to do it, or you can work with another attorney. It doesn't have to be us. We got Jim. He says, Jake, what is your conviction on XRP being the solution to the carry trade? I long to believe I'm in the top 4% of holders. Just curious. I'll give you guys one. Just because you're here tonight, and I do think we're right here on the edge of it, I'll give you a peek behind the curtain, things that I share in the mastermind that I don't share publicly. How do I want to say this? To be able to protect identities for people and not Well, this person's anonymous anyway. So, and the other person is also anonymous. So, all right. I went to the first XRP Vegas. This is 2023. So this is, we've had 3 of them. This is the first one I went to at Treasure Island. And XRPP was there at the first XRP Vegas. You may know him from Twitter. He's a satire account. Been around the block. Seems to know some things. I don't know if I even know his real name. Okay. But I've been around for a while. I've watched a lot of these accounts. Like I told you guys, I'm pretty confident that Merlin is Arthur Brito. That's yet to be seen. I don't know that for sure, but things lead me to believe that. So XRPP, XRP Productions is the name of his account over there on Twitter. And again, it's a satire account. One of my good friends messaged him, and they asked him, when things would go. And this was before I ever met him. And he replied just with a flag that had a red dot on it. Japan. And that's all he replied with. He didn't say anything outside of that. So I looked into that, right? I'm like, oh, what could this mean? So there's just been a lot of things. There's been a culmination of different conversations and things that I've looked at over the years that allowed me to put together the domino theory. And anyway, I got to ask him a few questions there at the event, which he did not answer directly. Again, like a lot of this stuff, people are hesitant to share things. They say things in confidence. I don't want to, betray any of those things. And again, he's anonymous. So, shout out to him for being there and taking time out to go sing karaoke with me at the first XRP Vegas. I really enjoyed that. We had a good time. So anyway, there's that. And then there's been just an amalgamation of other interactions that I've had that have allowed me to put this theory together. And then when I put the theory out, there was also, I've had some people give me the nod that would also know. So you can believe me or not, I know that I'm right. And that's why I can continue to come on here and talk about it and champion things and don't back down. And people are like, ooh, you must be getting, a little nervous that we're, 27 days from the end of the year. I'm not nervous at all. I'm more confident than I have ever been. So however you want to take that. Again, take it with a grain of salt. It's not financial advice. I'm just some guy on the internet. So it doesn't help me one way or another if you buy XRP. But it could, help your family for multiple generations if you do. So again, like I've talked about before, we want to align interests with other people. That's why we structure our fees the way that we do. That's why we do the things that we do. I don't ever want to be in a position where we're selling something that the other person doesn't need, or it's in the face of their best interest. I always want to align incentives. We want to sit on your side of the table. We had somebody ask the other day, they said, if all your employees make all this money with XRP when you're right, why would they stick around? They get a lot of fulfillment from what they're doing. And the other benefit of that is they don't need the income off of this job to pay their bills. So they can absolutely always do what's in the best interest of the client, whether they make money on it or not. I would prefer that. So anyway, my 2 cents. And again, I have a very, very, very high conviction. If that translates to you, awesome. If it doesn't, and I seem weird or crazy, also cool. I don't mind it either way. It's not going to change my opinion at the end of the day. We got the ETF. They say sales are breaking records. So I know you're probably right. I just want to understand whether you have real visibility into the OTC flows or if it's more of an informed guess. I don't have strict visibility. I don't. But we talked to Uphold. I had Nancy on. Uphold are good people. They have an OTC desk and an institutional platform with Ascent. They have an OTC desk there. Kraken has a dark pool and an OTC desk. Falcon X has a dark pool. Gemini and Coinbase both have OTC desks. These are all people that I talk to on either a very frequent basis or an infrequent basis. And again, we have clients that are putting through large orders. We talked about some of the billionaires and other people that are starting to take interest in this stuff. So, I go to them and I want to get my job as a fiduciary or through these relationships. Again, I don't make any money on these transactions in any way. I just want our clients to be taken care of. So if we can't execute the transaction for them, or they want to move faster than we're able to onboard them, sometimes I'll pass them off to some of these other OTC providers, and we have relationships with them. And I will ask them, what's the largest order that you could take right now? And I have a justifiable reason for asking those questions, because I have clients with large checkbooks that are looking to cut a check. And I don't want there to be slippage, and I don't want them to, not get the amount that they need. So yeah, I am frequently asking all of these providers how much is out there and what they can get. So again, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm just one guy. It is an informed guess based on that information. And after the inflows that we've seen today, I think we're somewhere around 400 million, but we did have 300 million come onto the market from Ripple. I don't know where those ended up. I haven't had visibility of that yet. It could be less than that. I could be off. So, somewhere between 200 or 300 million, all the way up to, 600 or 700 million. Somewhere in there is what's left on the dark pools and the OTC desks, in my opinion, based on the conversations and questions that I've asked. So again, I don't know anybody else that's going to be able to ask those questions to these people that are running these pools. But if you want to listen to somebody else that's looking at wallets and analytics on chain, or maybe has the connections that I do too, then they probably would know just as well as I do. We got Armon. He says, GOAT. Appreciate you, man. Let's say I have a friend who has 3,000 to 5,000 XRP spread across Coinbase and Cold Wallet. When does he get an LLC? When to move from Coinbase? I wouldn't keep anything on Coinbase. Again, Coinbase or any other exchange, I like Uphold, and there's a few others that do a good job of custody for people that I don't think are going to go bankrupt anytime soon. Okay, so that's not my issue with them. My only excuse me, my only potential concern with Coinbase and the other exchanges is that if there is a situation, well, I'm just going to say, when there is a situation with Tether and Bitcoin, and they need liquidity to be able to facilitate transfers on their exchange. I mean, Shane Ellis gave you the Shane Ellis theory, where Bitfinex goes illiquid and they use XRP in the interim, and voila, it moves to $589 because of the demand just on their exchange. My concern is that's their XRP. If your XRP is on their exchange, it is their XRP. It is not an FBO account like we provide at Digital Wealth Partners, inside institutional custody, segregated, bankruptcy remote. It's none of those things. Okay. It may be segregated. There are a few people out there that do segregated, and a few people that do have small amounts of insurance on stuff. Bankruptcy remote, unless you're working on the institutional side, which some do have it, Anyway, I'll get back to the point here. If you got 3,000 to 5,000 XRP, you're not on that side. And not to poo-poo on anybody, I'm just keeping it real. I would get it off there, get it on your cold wallet, just so that you don't have any counterparty risk. You still have your own risk at that point, right? Like, you have radical responsibility. There's no recourse. There's no insurance on your cold wallet. Don't tell this guy over here, don't tell people how much XRP you have. Don't tell other people how much XRP you have, okay? This person at least has abbreviated their name, which I appreciate. I would get it off the exchange. I'd get it onto a cold wallet. If you don't feel comfortable having it all in one place, maybe have 2 cold wallets. Zaman is a hot wallet, but it's secure. I like We'd say. I like his products. I think that they're doing a good job. They are charging fees now for larger transactions on there, which they got to make money somehow. So I get that. It didn't used to be that way though. So anyway, I would get it off of Coinbase. If it were me, that's what I would do. If you want to sell some later, you move it back on there. You got an account, right? And then for the LLC, again, once you get to somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 in total portfolio value in crypto, that's where things start to make sense on the cost of benefit. Less than that, you're going to be better suited just continue to dollar cost average and spend $2,000 on that versus the LLC. If you work with us, if you work with another attorney, some people told me they got it done for $1,800 the other day. Awesome, happy for you. I'm glad that you actually were proactive and got it done. There's probably people out there that'll do it a little bit cheaper than us. Cool. There's also people out there that are more expensive than us. We provide a good product at a fair price, and we will continue to do so. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel on that. I would wait probably on the LLC, and I would just get your stuff over there on your cold wallet. We got finally got one. They say, Jake, this is she. Carbon One and LLC done. I admire you no matter what happens with price appreciation. Lost my younger uncle. I'm sorry to hear that. Hoping to support his daughter after price appreciation. Can I plan for this in Q1? Namaste. I'm going to go back. Look, all of this is event driven. Okay. Until these events transpire, I'm extremely confident that they happen before the end of the year. But at the end of the day, I don't control these macro events. I'm not the one, closing the Strait of Hormuz or attacking Venezuela or sinking Russian ships. It's not me. I'm not doing those things. Okay. So, and not to say that I would even want to be, I definitely don't. But those are going to be the catalysts that cause oil to spike. And as soon as we see that happen, everything else that I've been talking about unfolds through the domino theory to drive price for XRP to 3-4 digits in a very short period of time. So, again, I've got literally a bet on this year that it's going to happen. It's public. So bullish on Q1 for sure. But at the end of the day, I don't pull the strings. I'm not the guy. But again, I've gotten the nod from a few people. So I feel confident to come out and talk about it in the time frame that I am, but it does require all of those catalysts to play out. So sorry for the loss of your uncle, and God bless you for taking care of your niece. All right, we got Matthew, my man. He says Jake Stradamus, which is appropriate. You changed my life. God sent me 100%. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here and for the kind words. He says, your prediction, 85% checked. Oil next, Japan on the edge. Can the dominoes fall without oil? I'm a small player. I'll join in the future. Mahalo. Mahalo. It's still light where you are. Maybe. I don't think so. Like, it's obvious that the rates are rising here. And if they continue to just, raise the rates without any outside catalyst, yes, it would eventually play out. But like I've talked about before, these central banks don't want to be the one pointed to at fault for this. They would much rather have a scapegoat and something else they could point to that said, oh, it was a black swan event, or oh, it was this, that, or the other, and we had to do it. It was crisis, reaction, solution. That's how they play things. Never let a good crisis go to waste. Okay. People much smarter than me have said oil. Jim Rickards has said oil. Michael Gade, if you guys follow him, oil. All the other chief economists that are also watching this, oil. So anybody out here just looking at the rates and reporting on that every day, that's great to show where things are, but nothing's going to happen until they get forced to do it. And we've seen that up to this point. The rates have continued to rise ever since, the reverse carry trade started to unwind last year in August in 2024. They've just held interest rates because they know if as soon as they move, all of this unwinds. And for them to go ahead and say that they're going to move here in December lets me know that maybe there's going to be something else that forces their hand sooner than that. And they're supposed to be doing that on the 18th and 19th. That gives us 15 days here, 2 weeks. Just have to see. And what's interesting, again, considering this concerns Japan and the U.S., we're at the 84th anniversary Sunday of Pearl Harbor, which was the turning point in World War II where the U.S. entered that war. And a lot of what transpired during that period is what's culminated to where we sit today. So just interesting to me to note, kind of a full circle here, 84 years later, where that was the beginning, and this feels like the end right before another era changes for the U.S. and Japan. So, and thank you to all those, that unfortunately lost their lives during that event. Not a fun time in American history, Pearl Harbor, but it did lead to a lot of the benefit that I've received over my lifetime being a U.S. citizen, the dollar dominance that we've enjoyed, which I do think is not going to last much longer. We got Jonathan, my man. He says, it's been surreal seeing how headlines line up with the domino theory. Bank of Japan rate moves to random unrest, oil-rich Venezuela. Are there other suitable headlines outside the obvious signals that we should keep an eye out for? Hint as major changes ahead. Tether has acquired more gold than any of the other central banks in the last year, which is interesting to me. As I've talked about before, I see gold pulling back to $2,000 or $2,100 being cut in half during the reverse carry trade unwinding, alongside Bitcoin, having a significant fall also. If just a 30% reduction in either one of those or both of those assets at the same time, Tether would depeg. And again, I think that is likely going to be a situation for the exchanges and the whole crypto market where anything that's not going to be used or doesn't have actual utility or benefit on the other side of this goes to zero. You had CZ come out and talk about, all of the boats that sank with the Titanic, the ones that became untethered, floated back up to the top. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there that just makes you go, it's interesting. Why would he say it that way? So, that's another big one. An announcement from the BIS that XRP is a tier 1 asset. I think that one's going to come. I think that you're going to have, a lot of other players out there announce, after their NDAs expire that they're going to utilize Ripple or R3, and they'll, have XRP on their balance sheet to pay the gas fees to be able to use the network. Maybe through some of these pre-negotiated contracts and the 1,700 NDAs that Ripple has for the escrow. And again, the Clarity Act, interesting piece of that legislation is it designates that no more than 20% of a supply of a token or a network can be held by one business or counterparty. So, Ripple won't be able to manage the escrow after that piece of clarity, that the Clarity Act passes. It's going to have to move to, either distribute it across whoever's supposed to get those pre-allocated amounts, or somebody's telling me to look at Japan. What do we got going on over here? Real time in the middle of the live. Yeah, we're at 1.9 on the 10-year yield. Things are starting to lift off here. And again, oil. I'm telling you guys, I'm watching for it. That is what breaks the camel's back. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the next one here. We got Will, Mr. Hoyt, Hoyle, Will Hoyle. I'm probably butchering that. Sorry, Will. He says, "Hey Jake, mastermind member here. Awesome dude. Glad to have you in the group." He says, "Looking forward to working with you guys post to price appreciation. Question: Should I sign up with Uphold or Mercury or just use a local credit union? Local credit union is likely not going to, create a business account for your LLC. Both Mercury and Uphold would be better suited. Credit unions just, you might be able to get it at Navy Fed if it's Navy Federal. But outside of that circumstance, I haven't seen a whole lot of people have success with credit unions to get an account set up for their holding company. Credit unions are primarily for individuals, and there's for certain groups of people. There's like a teachers credit union or credit union or Sherwin-Williams, or like employees, or women's credit union. Like they tend to be for certain demographics of people, and that's what they concentrate on. Most of them, Texas Credit Union does have business accounts. Finally, I had an account there for 10 years before they set up business accounts. And they're also partners with Bank Social, which is pretty cool to see their application where you can buy and sell crypto at that credit union. So credit union in Texas is probably progressive enough that you could get it done there. But there's a few and far between. So I would probably look at Uphold or Mercury if you're looking for a bank account. And Uphold's got the cash back card. So if you're getting your weekly paycheck there, and you have that direct deposit, and then if you're also using your card, you're getting 4% back in XRP. That's up to 10% back in XRP. Like, it's pretty good. I don't really have a better solution than that one. Crypto, HK J3E, interesting name. They say, "Hey Jake, I've come across some information that's to do with Max and court documents. I'm not sure what's accurate. Could you address this openly to us?" So all that's been settled out of court. I've been asked about this a few times, and I'm not perfect. I'm the first person to say that. But all of that has been settled. My main focus at this point is making sure that we are providing as much value as we can for people. And my full attention's on Digital Ascension Group. Max, just so you guys know on Max is my business partner in the mastermind. And the first day we met, he told me about all that stuff. He didn't want to hide anything. He came out, up front and said, "Look, there's some stuff. Google me about me. You're going to find some stuff. Here's what happened." And he actually settled all that with the people that defrauded him. So, I don't know anybody that doesn't have something in their past. If you're doing business at a high level, you're going to get sued. And that's just a reality of it. That won't be the first time. That was the first time I've ever been sued. It won't be the last time I've ever been sued. Okay. How many times has Trump been sued? How many depositions has he been in? How many people have come after him? Right? Like, anybody that is successful, and this is the other reason that I'm so adamant that people should set up an LLC to protect themselves and get the corporate veil and put things in place to mitigate risk. People are going to come after you if they find out that you're doing well. And they're going to say things and they're going to do things that aren't true. And then they might file it in a court document, and then it's there for forever. Okay. So, again, I've talked about it in the mastermind. I let everybody in there know what was going on. This will be the public statement that I make about it. But if that deters people from working with us, that's okay. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be. I am not Jesus Christ. I have my full faith in him. And, again, I learn lessons when things go wrong, to make sure that they don't happen again. If people are concerned about mainly the wealth management, right? Like, that's a fair concern. So I'll touch on that. Max and I have no control of any of the accounts at Digital Wealth Partners. Like I've told people before, if there's a fake account of me telling you to send your XRP somewhere, it's a scam. I never work with clients to onboard assets. I also don't manage the assets. I'm not a wealth advisor. We have a CEO. We have a board. I don't have any access to any of the accounts at Anchorage. So if either one of those lawsuits or anything, deter you, that's okay. But we have removed all access. We own it. We do not operate it. And there's no way possible that we would have any ability to manipulate anything over there or do anything malicious to anybody. So, there's going to be people that talk. That's just going to continue to get louder as we continue to announce all the fun things that we're bringing. And that's just part of it, right? I can't be out here and be public without, other people throwing shade for whatever reason. It's okay. We're just going to continue to do what we know we need to do to provide as much value for people as we possibly can, and continue to help as many people as we can. And, the big man upstairs, I'm right with him. So at the end of the day, I know that when I show up to the pearly gates, it's going to be a good conversation. So I appreciate the super chat and the concern, and it's a valid concern and question. But at the end of the day, there's no possible way that we could defraud anybody or do anything malicious the way that we've constructed everything. So, all right, we'll get back to the fun stuff. We got Kevin. He says, super genius update. Appreciate the super chat. He says, I agree. I completed and won first place in my weight class at the competition in Virginia, 5'11", 75K kilograms. Next goal, price appreciation, LLC, snowboarding in Europe, and Super Saiyan lift session in Dallas. Godspeed. Awesome, dude. You and I are similar height, 75 kilograms, so you'd be about 102.2. So it'd be 150, call it 185, 190. That's solid, dude, for competition weight. My first show that I ever did, I was 178 pounds. And that was totally natural. And I was about, 7% body fat for that show. I haven't snowboarded. I like to ski, so I'm game for that one. And then definitely down for the Super Saiyan lift, man. If you ever come down to Dallas, I like to train at Destination Dallas. If you ever want some motivation, that is wild. Like, I am tiny. I'm 5'11", 230 at about, I'm not that lean right now, probably 12%. I will walk in there and I look like a twig next to all the people that are in that gym. Because that's where all the power lifters and the UFC fighters and the bodybuilders here in Dallas go train. You kind of rise to the level of people that you're around, right? Like, they tell you, the 5 people you surround yourself with, whether those are, bad people or good people, you're going to be more like those. I like being in environments like that where I'm the little guy in the room. So would love to, if you come down. I am going to be in DC for something pretty cool Friday. I won't announce what it is yet, but you guys will get to see me on something pretty cool. As long as there's no breaking news, it'll happen on Friday. So we've got Elroy. He says, hey, Jake, you're the man, mastermind here. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you in the group. Appreciate all the time and effort you put into all these lives, learning about crypto space every day. What are your favorite books on wealth management? So I've got some here that we've talked about before. So this, we separated ways with Matt Schneider, but he did write this book. It's Warren Buffett in the Web3 World. Highly recommend this one for people. It's a really good read. And then, breaking stuff. I've got this one's, again, we're a multifamily office. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, which is kind of the full spectrum of things, Richard C. Wilson has this book. It's called The Family Office Book. And he talks about, different ways to manage your wealth, and then also all the estate planning, how to mitigate taxes, insurance, how to structure generational estate planning, how to do, governance for your board and your mission statement and core values. Very thorough end-to-end solution for that. And then this one is probably another one of my favorites here that I would highly recommend for people. You've got Borrowed from Your Grandchildren. So if you do want to set up generational wealth for people, for your kids type stuff, and structure a family office. This is another really good book on how to think through that with values-based planning to make sure that you aren't making mistakes when you're thinking about that and put it together the right way. Other things on wealth management, though, a lot of what I've learned on wealth management, one, I went to school for finance at the University of North Texas, and learned a lot there. Sharp ratio, PE ratio, Buffett indicator. Those are just basic things that you should be looking at. I also listen to Kevin O'Leary and a lot of other people that I think are smarter than myself when it comes to wealth management, how they structure things. Kevin has an interesting way of doing it. So his mother actually inspired this, but he never puts more than 20% of his total portfolio in any one sector and never more than 5% of his total portfolio in any one investment. So I think that's a pretty sharp way of managing wealth once you have it. You said wealth management, so that's kind of like wealth preservation and growing it slowly over time. Wealth creation tends to be very siloed for an extended period of time and unbalanced and undiversified. So it's kind of a flip from how you make it to how you preserve it. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to have to learn post price appreciation, and why, to your point, probably should be reading some of those books. We got Mr. Browser here. How are you? He says, Jake, you are the man. Appreciate it, brother. Carbon One member, and have the LLC set up. Awesome. Glad to be working with you. And I'm currently with Arch Lending and have enough XRP to work with DWP. Fantastic. Do I have to pay off the Arch loan before transferring to DWP, or can I roll my XRP over to DWP post price appreciation? Great question. We are working on a way to be able to change the org on that loan account. And so, yeah, we should be able to roll it over there even now if you wanted to do that and move it inside of custody. Just be aware, we charge, AUM fees. So your loan right now outside of Digital Wealth Partners, you're not going to have those charges. Whereas once you move it over there, it's charged. So I just want to be transparent with people, right? We want to give people the best options and all the options that we can out there. For some people, probably, if they do just plan, they don't have the ability to earn on it yet and get in the hedge fund because they're not accredited, and they do want to take a loan on it, the better way to do that is probably through the mastermind, and then move it over later so that you're not having, monthly costs alongside the interest payments that are due to Arch. Again, like, all about, making money in business and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I want what's best for the client. I want to make sure that you guys are informed and you're making the best option, choices for you and your family. And sometimes that doesn't mean, we make any money, and that is also okay. At the end of the day, like I said, I just want people to have the best options for them and their family. We got Simply Smarter. Thank you for the super chat. I don't see any questions here, but I appreciate that. We got Jim. He says, what is your conviction on XRP being the solution to the carry trade? Oh, we already went over this one. Sorry, Jim. And if you did it twice, I apologize. Kevin, did we get Kevin? Yes, we did. Okay. Sorry, sometimes it kicks me up in the chat here, messes me up. We've got Elroy. What's up, man? He says, hey, Jake, you're the man, mastermind member. Appreciate all the time and effort you put into the lives. Oh, no, we already went over that one too. Again, if you guys want to join the mastermind, we would love to have you in there. And again, probably going to stop the $2 deal here in short order. I don't know what it's going to be after that. We got to figure it out, but we're growing so quickly there in the mastermind that, again, we just want to protect the members, and we're probably going to start implementing a lot of the things we've been talking about post price appreciation here in December at some point. I also think we're going to get price appreciation here in December, and we're going to lock it down at that point. It'll be referral or invite only, and it'll be, a minimum of 4 digits a month in order to participate in the mastermind. So if you want to lock in the current prices and make sure you're in before that happens, you just go to beyondbroke.com and use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2. This person said, I paid for a super chat earlier. You never read it. All right, Mr. Foot, Mr. 6'5", post it over here on TikTok and I will get it for you, my man. I apologize. I try to watch both. It's hard for me to catch both. This person says, what's the loan program called in the mastermind? It's just Arch Lending. They're our direct partner there. If you want to learn more about that, join the mastermind and one of our moderators will connect you and show you, interest rates, 13.5% to 15%, just depends. And then LTV is up to 45% against the XRP. And it's month to month interest payments with a balloon payment at the end. And again, I'm not advocating for that or, telling you to take loans. That is on your own accord. We just want to, there are people that want the option. And so that's why we're providing it. 6'5" over here says, okay, I said my Uphold account was deleted. I DM'd you on Instagram and sent a comment over 30 grand, a commitment I had over 30 grand. So my wonderful wife, the T lady, handles most of the DMs across our other accounts. I do handle Twitter most of the time. I can connect you with their team over there at Uphold. We can get you their information. But that would be the best I could do for you, man. Unfortunately, I don't run that company and I can't really do much outside of that, but happy to get that information over to you. And if it was on Instagram, my wife should respond to you and let you know. Or if you just want to email us, you can email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. If you want, to contact somebody at one of the exchanges, we do have the information for all of the appropriate people over there, whether that's the OTC desk or just somebody for general questions. We can pass you along. And that's any exchange. I don't think we might not have anybody at MEXC or KuCoin, but anything domestic here in the US, for the most part, we have good relationships with. Daniel says, hi, Jake. May God bless you and your family. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for all that you do. 2 questions. Which stablecoin is safe from the reverse carry trade? And do you see 1K price in Q1? So all stablecoins are going to be fine. And the reason for that is we passed stablecoin regulation here. Well, not all stablecoins. So Tether, I think, is going to have problems. So let me restate that. Any stablecoins that comply with the Genius Act, I think will be fine. We are going to see some volatility in treasuries when all this happens. But because of the demand that's going to happen here from the Genius Act and the stablecoin bill that was passed and the banks issuing their stablecoins, there's going to be enough demand here domestically to soak up those treasuries that flow onto the market from foreign holders. So they will stabilize the bond market. The US dollar is going to be fine. We're going to be good to go. And they needed that passed. And that's why they didn't let it unwind last year in August, because if they had, it would have been horrible. So, just be aware of that. But yeah, USDC, Paxos stablecoin, PayPal stablecoin, Ripple stablecoin, I think all of those will be just fine. Tether, I have concerns about because it has backing that's not US Treasuries. It does have a bunch of US Treasuries, but some of the backing are other volatile assets. And then as far as Q1 in $1,000 XRP, again, it's event driven. We're right here on the precipice of it here, potentially before the end of the month here in December. So I'm very confident that Q1 next year, again, all of this, I think, plays out before the Clarity Act is passed. I think it's been put together that way on purpose. And, we will see a 4-digit XRP. I'll say it this way. I think we see a 4-digit XRP before the Clarity Act is passed. How's that? And if that's early or late Q1, then yeah. We got Jimmy again. He says, I keep buying, but I appreciate your input, brother. God bless. Thank you, dude. Appreciate you being on here and for the great questions. I am about an hour and 10 minutes in. I'm going to go to the bottom of the chat and work my way back up. So, if you are watching, if you haven't super chatted yet, just hold off on that. And, or if you do, and I don't get to you, you can always join the mastermind and just DM me the super chat and I will answer it there. We've got Matt Weller. He says, from Canada, if I become your client, have you considered helping people get a visa to move to the US and streamline for people? We have a partner there in Canada. His name is Aaron Grinhaus, and he is very familiar with U.S. and Canadian tax law. And he absolutely can help you get a green card here or a visa in the U.S. if you need it, or work visa. So yes, we can absolutely help people with that. And he would be the one I would reach out to. It's just Aaron, Aaron, at grinhauslaw.ca. If you're a Canadian and you haven't structured yourself to be able to hold your digital assets, highly recommend reaching out to Aaron. We've done multiple podcasts with him. He has his own podcast on Spotify where he talks about tax law in Canada. Highly recommend him as a resource. XRP on XRP. He says, Jake, you are a regular guy. You are the man, though. Appreciate that, dude. I am just a regular dude. You know, it's wild to me that so many people want to come on here and listen to what I have to say. And I feel very humbled. I'm appreciative. I'm full of gratitude. Thank you guys so much for taking time out, and people that listen back to this later or join the live. It's surreal for me to be on here and have so many wonderful people reach out and want to work with us. Yeah. So thank you. He says, I just can't see how people don't realize what's on the line for you and your business. I'm in 100%. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Well, again, I feel like, oh, if we're really serious, you'd bet this much money. How do you know I haven't? How do you know I haven't put a lot of money where my mouth is and bought XRP or leveraged stuff or built an entire business around this? And do we benefit if this is right? Absolutely. But again, that's what I talk about. I don't ever want to be in opposition to the client where our incentives aren't in line. I want to make sure that we have a way that people can generate returns on this XRP, borrow against it, and hold it for the long term so that it continues to go up in value, and you can get all three pieces of an investment. You can get real ROI, you can get cash flow off of it, and you can leverage against it, just like a piece of real estate. People that make their money in real estate, they 1031 into the next piece of real estate, and they build huge portfolios in real estate because there's tax advantages, and they hold on to the assets. They don't sell them. And if they do sell them, they defer the taxes. We want to create the same solutions for XRP. Right now, there's not a way to be able to sell your XRP unless you're using all kinds of crazy tax strategies to be able to mitigate that tax. I am hopeful, just like everybody else, that we get zero capital gains here in the US on XRP and these other digital assets, which I think is probably likely. I mean, how else are they going to be able to settle all these transactions with micro movements in the price and not have to rack up and keep track of all those changes and what the basis was and like all these things? The banks wouldn't do it. So I am highly confident that we do see a situation in the US where there are no taxes on certain cryptos that are infrastructure like XRP and XLM, HBAR, maybe XDC now that they're here domestically. But that will incentivize people to sell, and they're going to miss the upside. So what's the cost to benefit on that? Yeah, you don't pay any taxes, but now you missed out on another 10x or another 100x or another 1000x on the investment. Like imagine selling Bitcoin at $100, not paying any tax. Awesome. But then you missed out on it going another 1000x to $100,000. We want to be working with people that want to hold over the long term. That is our client base at Digital Wealth Partners and Digital Ascension Group. We want to help people create legacies for their family that are multi-generational, where they, 4 or 5 generations from now, your great grandkids are talking about Grandpa Bob or Grandma Jane, and how they completely changed the family's trajectory, and they've made it, given them so many more opportunities because they held the asset over the long term and they had all these resources to be able to do that, and all the wonderful philanthropic stuff we're going to be able to do. Like the gentleman earlier, I had a call today with a gentleman that helps firefighters here in the U.S. So many good, genuine people hold this asset. God-fearing people that want to help other people or communities or causes on the other side of price appreciation. And this is the conduit and the resources that they're going to need to be able to do that. And we want to help those people. That's what I feel like my mission is. That's what I feel guided to do. So if that resonates with you and you want to work with us, awesome. We definitely want to do it. If it doesn't for whatever reason, and you have different objectives and you don't like what we're doing for some reason, also okay. I am not everybody's cup of tea, and I am perfectly fine with that. Like I said, me and the big man upstairs, we're good. So, this person says, where can we find the real-time information on the OTC and the dark pool liquidity? It's not a thing. Again, I'm just having, conversations with all of those providers and asking them the question on how much they could source, and that's how I'm kind of gauging, what I think's left and available out there. But I have a legitimate reason to ask them because I have clients that are trying to buy like large amounts. Mr. Legend, thank you for the super chat. He says, you put out a ton of great information for US and how to structure before price appreciation. What can non-US citizens do who do not have the same infrastructure as the US LLC and trust? I live in Kuwait. We have a group there in Dubai that we are happy to refer you to. We have people all over the world. So you're not alone in this. There's a ton of people that watch our content that are English speaking, right? Because that's kind of a prerequisite. You have to be able to understand what I'm saying. And we have a cool podcast that we're doing tomorrow with a Spanish speaking individual that'll be out, which I'm excited about. But we have a group there in the Middle East and the UAE that can help you structure things. So all you have to do, again, if you are international and you don't know who to reach out to in your jurisdiction, we have all those relationships globally, whether that's Australia, whether it's Canada, whether it's South America, whether it's the European Union, Africa. We're pretty I don't have anybody in South Africa or anywhere really in Africa outside of the UAE. Okay, so we were working on that. We don't have that one. I also don't have anything for China. We don't have anybody in Hong Kong. I don't have anybody in Singapore yet. We're working on that one. But Australia, the EU, Canada, the UK, UAE, anywhere in the Middle East, and then South America, we have partners that we can refer you to. And all you got to do is email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. Oh, I need to go up. Sorry. Scrolling the wrong way in the chat here. We got Nitro. They say, hey, boss, let's say XRP is $500. Where do you think HBAR would be? Will they go up together or will HBAR be left behind? HBAR will be left behind. HBAR does have an ETF, though, from Canary Capital. So it is going to get some inflows. I think that's how the rotation is going to happen. This cycle is out of the Bitcoin ETFs and into these other ETFs that are available on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ and other listing exchanges. So I do think there's going to be some price appreciation for HBAR. It's just not going to be anywhere near as significant as XRP in the short term here, in my personal opinion. Would love to be wrong about that. I know people that hold large amounts of HBAR that would be very happy to see significant price appreciation on it. Over the long term, super bullish, super bullish on HBAR. I think XRP is going to significantly outperform it in the short term. And again, that's why I don't own any. It's my second favorite out of all crypto, and I don't own any of it right now. I'm siloed in XRP. PRG XRP says, hey, Jake, my mentor. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the kind words. I am now nervous. You said XRP may crash with the rest of the unwind. I leveraged with Arch to buy more XRP. If I can't pay off the debt during the crash, will I lose it all? No, that's the whole benefit of Arch and working with our partners versus a DeFi protocol. They're going to give you time. I don't think it's going to be long-lived. Okay, I think it's going to be a very sharp V bottom back out of there type thing for XRP if it does fall. I don't think it's going to last anywhere near 24 hours. And if there is a capital call on XRP, they give you at least 24 hours to cover the difference. So, I think it's going to be a very sharp recovery on the other side of that. I don't think it's going to be anything like a prolonged bear market or anything like a lot of other people are talking about. I have a crystal ball, but it does not show me the future. So that is my opinion. That's just one person's opinion. If you feel like you're in a bad situation or you shouldn't have done what you've done, again, I don't advocate for people to take loans. Leverage is risky, but we've done it in the least risky way that you could possibly do it with Arch as our partner. All right, a couple more super chats here. We've got Lum T Chu. Interesting name. How to handle exchanges like RH and CBE, etc., when sell orders skyrocket if XRP dollars get to where people with cold wallet XRP want to sell, how to sell where, GB, goodbye. Lum to chew. I'm going to assume maybe English is not your first language, but you did very good. I understand what you said, so I appreciate you. I'm assuming RH is Robinhood and CB is, I don't know what that one is. All right. When sell orders skyrocket, if XRP gets to where people cold wallet want to sell, exchanges are going to be down. They always are. They always go under. Oh, Coinbase. Ha! Everybody over here on TikTok telling me what's going on. Appreciate you guys. Robinhood or Coinbase? Of course, Coinbase. All right. So, yeah, both of those exchanges probably aren't going to be able to trade at that time. I would suggest having an institutional partner in some capacity if you can afford it. If you are doing trades north of $250,000 a clip, probably have an OTC desk or Digital Wealth Partners. We can work with you. We were able to secure people XRP under $2 when the market fell. Oh, GB is God bless. Thank you. Not goodbye. See, I'm horrible with the abbreviations. I'm glad we got good people over here on TikTok that know what's going on. So yeah, on the way up, I think the chart's just going to gap. When you saw it on the Kraken chart when it went to $91, it gapped up. There was nothing there. It's straight air. So I don't know what prices it's going to go to, but on the order books, there's going to have to be buyers. I think people should just sit on their hands and do nothing. Personally, I think you're going to be much better off if you just. I know people are used to volatile markets and prices crashing. When XRP runs up, they're going to start using it, and when they do, the volume on the network will hold the price up at a very high level. So it'll have a price floor that's significantly higher. I do not think that XRP is going to crash this time 90%. I think it's going to be up and to the right for the next decade. Okay. And there'll be enough volume on the network to maintain price stability or a minimum price for XRP once it's over $100. So, if you're selling before that, I think you're going to be kicking yourself potentially. Again, not financial advice. Everybody should have their exit plan and execute on that. Taking profits, you never go broke. But again, my personal plan is just to hold XRP in perpetuity because we have ways that we are already generating returns on it. We've paid out 5% returns on the income fund so far this year. If people have been in since April, we're about to launch a yield product. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff that, again, we're going to have a bunch of announcements for here in the near future. And I'm very excited for the year-end stuff that we got going on. CEK says 10-year is 1.93. Dangerous. It's been in the danger zone for a while. But again, waiting on oil. That is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. We got TK. He says, thank you for your constant conviction. I am a proud member of the Beyond Broke Mastermind and DWP. Hopefully, I will get to meet you in person and shake your hand. I would love that. We throw lots of in-person events. We have a couple Zoom calls back in the day. I'm here and proud to be on your team. Thank you, man. I appreciate the kind words and all the support. Stuff like that really means a lot. It really does. There's been a lot of times in the past 3 years that have not been easy. And people have continued to send me kind messages like that and let me know that I've impacted their life in some way. And that keeps me going. So all of the wonderful people that have sent those over the years, just want to express gratitude for you. There's been a couple of them where I was like, pack it in, and I'm like, you know what? No, like this is worth it. We are helping people. Even if it's hard, even if it seems like it's not going to work, we're going to continue to press forward. And at this point, I've just been so humbled and so grateful I feel so blessed for all of the wonderful people that we're able to work with and all the wonderful people in the mastermind and the support that we have. Thank you guys. I really don't have words to express my gratitude at this point. It's overwhelming. So thank you. And like the dinners the last couple nights, again, blown away. Just how many fantastic people want to come out and participate and learn, educate themselves, and make sure that they're being proactive for themselves and their families. And again, whatever causes they have on their heart, I just feel, yeah, it's incredible to be a part of. We got OTO Ghost. They say Jake Carbon won as of a couple days. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you in the group. He said a little bit ago, you said that y'all would be paying 4% on XRP. Let's say someone with 40K at 99% sure is $100 price appreciation. When should you get an LLC, now or price appreciation? If you got, again, you're kind of less than the 50 to 80K, where I think it makes sense. I would keep stacking crypto versus paying for the LLC until we'll just play out the scenario you said there. So you got 40,000, it goes to $100, you got $4 million. You're still far below the gift tax threshold. You could set up the LLC then and be just fine. You'd definitely be able to onboard digital wealth partners and be able to participate at that point, and be able to get access to all of the products that we have right now. The cost to benefit on setting up the LLC before you're really at that point, like my concern is it goes to $1,000, right? Which again, I think is a high probability if everything, if the perfect storm, like I've been talking about, plays out, which every passing day looks like it's going to, then now you got $40 million. Like now, that's potentially a problem because you're over the gift tax threshold. And if you did want to move it out of your taxable estate before you pass away, LLC would, be very conducive for that. But again, you could set it up post price appreciation at that point. But again, being proactive is never going to hurt you. So you're kind of right on that edge there. It's really up to you. But I think probably continue to buy the crypto. You're probably going to have a better cost to benefit just where you sit today versus, paying us for the LLC or working with an attorney to do that. I think you'd be able to do it post price appreciation. I do think we have a pit stop at $100 before we go, north to 4 digits. LBV voice. He says, Big Bad Jake. What's up, my man? What's good? I am over on X. Bro, how much cheaper can a person get XRP from your OTC people buying from Coinbase? Zalman Storage for now. It's the same price. It's the same price on the OTC market versus the exchange. The fees, however, are substantially less OTC. But again, the buys are much larger. So all the OTC desks, it's going to take you, $250,000 just to open the account and be able to make a trade. If you're not transacting in that large of amount, trying to think who has the Kraken Pro probably has the lowest fees for smaller amounts in comparison to anybody else out there. I love Uphold, but they do charge fees. And then there's other people that charge really high fees. Kraken Pro, I think, is probably going to be your best bet for buys under like 25 grand. I think they're still going to be pretty competitive. They have a spread, but their fees not egregious at all in comparison to some of the other people out there. So it's my 2 cents for the cheapest spot to buy it. If you can't work with digital wealth partners, we have the cheapest fee of anybody when it comes to buying and selling. We do 20 basis points with no spread. All the other OTC desks still have a spread, and they charge 20 basis points or 10 to 20 basis points depending on the asset and the size of the purchase. We are an hour and a half in. I'm going to probably hang out for another 15 minutes here, and then we'll wrap it up tonight. A couple more super chats. CAK says, thank you for the super chat, man. He says, you are a genuine good-hearted guy. Good-hearted guy. Hope price appreciation soon. Crypto rich, but cash poor. We all are, my friend. Thank you for the kind words again. You guys are super nice tonight, and I really do appreciate it. Again, I just feel like a regular dude. And if you meet me, I'm the same person in person as I am here, which apparently is not normal. I don't know how to be anybody else besides me. So I just get on here and keep it real with you guys. But anyway, yeah, the dinners and everything, it's surreal to have people excited to meet me and think I'm important and all the other cool stuff. But again, I feel like a regular dude. So, and I've felt the other way. Like, and I want to say this too. I used to watch a lot of these other influencers, and to meet them in person, I kind of fanboyed a little bit when I first met them. And you feel like, that person, like you watch them all the time, and so you feel like you talk to them and you resonate with them, and then you go to meet them, and they look at you like, "Who the heck are you?" Nice to meet you, but I have no idea. I've been on the other side of that, and so I don't know. I don't want to say I'm empathetic to that, but like I get it because that's how I felt when I met all the other influencers at XRP Vegas the first time. Um, so anyway, just it's surreal to be on the other side of that transaction. Grown Wild says, "Hey Jake, what's the difference if oil spike versus gold or silver? Maybe it's silver since it's looking like a big spike coming." Silver has already spiked. Gold has already spiked. So the reason for oil is it causes inflation in Japan's economy. Energy costs would rise rapidly, and the only way to combat that would be able to strengthen their currency against that inflation by raising interest rates. So that's the reason for oil in particular that we're watching. It's not that it's not, just any random commodity. It's oil in particular because of energy costs associated with oil. So hopefully that better explains that for you. I know there's probably other people out there telling you, like everybody's moving to risk off, and oil would be a risk off asset. Oil moves a little bit independently of the other commodities because of supply and demand dynamics globally. And I'm pretty confident that it's going to be a supply route that gets cut off, like the Strait of Hormuz, that it like immediately causes oil to spike. And again, that would be a black swan event that other people don't see coming. I've been talking about it for a long time. Jim Rickards talked about it, but I don't know anybody else that's talking about the Strait of Hormuz getting shut down. There's a glimmer of it here and there, fake news about it, but that's the one that I think is going to be it. We could, it could be Venezuela, it could be Russia too, but I think it's probably that one. Alex, he says, "Jake, Carbon One and LLC done. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you in the community and working with you on the LLC. Thanks. I've been studying investing. Is the Stock Up University program a good choice for increasing my investment knowledge, or what other programs would you recommend?" I've not heard of that one, but I like the name. It sounds pretty good. There's a lot of people out there. Budget Dog, has a financial education course. The thing that I think we're different about, there are a lot of get rich slow people, methodical, pay off debt, set up an emergency fund, and that works. It is proven that works. So I'm not here to dismiss that. My only concern with that is you're going to be 65 and old. Not that 65 is old. I'm sure that there's people watching that are 65 on here. So 65 and retiring at the same age as most other people if you do it that way. Investing in these digital assets, you could potentially be I know people in their late 20s that are completely retired and enjoy time with their family and do all kinds of fun stuff because they made a bunch of money in crypto. And then they were smart about how they continued to invest that money or buy businesses or do other things with it to generate cash flow so that they could, buy their time back with their families. That's what I'm interested in. That's what I think is cool. And then also, protecting that and growing it slowly over time after you've acquired it and, preserving that wealth as a steward for your family and structuring things the right way to be able to pass those assets on to the next generation. That's what we talk about. So it's more on the legacy planning piece of it versus actual, trades or things like that. Game of Trades or Bravos Research. I've talked about them in the mastermind before. Great channel. over there on YouTube. If you guys want to go check them out, they have a subscription deal for Bravos Research. He puts out really good information on YouTube. I like his free stuff, so I'm sure his paid stuff's pretty good. There's a lot of good, very intelligent people out there that have tons of programs. And investing your time and money in those is going to have a much bigger return for you over the long term than almost anything else. Anything that you're able to then use to produce additional income, skill sets that you can gain, skills, traits, and beliefs. Like, you're going to need those. They got to build the ladder that you're able to climb for success over your lifetime. So excited to have you in our group. Hopefully we're providing you a lot of value there, but there are other groups out there that are great as well. I'm in 3 other masterminds. So we got First Legion, 2001-24. Golly, I need more tea. Keep me awake. I said, hey Jake, would you suggest what would you suggest for someone in Australia? I have a family trust, bank, crypto account up and running. You're good to go, my man. If you got a family trust in place there in Australia, you're going to be able to mitigate a lot of those taxes. Talked to a gentleman today that also has, some things in place. Large amount of XRP there in Australia. Kudos to him. Family trust is probably the way to go if you're going to do it in Australia. And then you also have a self-managed super fund.
Decaf.
Oh, well, no wonder I'm losing my pep in my step. My wife gave me decaf tea. Look at that.
You got a girl over on TikTok crying that you missed her.
Oh, okay. All right. Ashley, I'm sorry. My wife has told me that I missed your super chat over here on TikTok. She always takes care of me and makes sure people.
You missed it on YouTube, but anyway.
She's on TikTok telling me.
She needs to repost it.
Okay, well,
I don't know her username. I don't know.
I'm going up on here. I will probably get to it. So if she'll give me another 20 minutes here, I bet I get to your stuff, Ashley. Young Metro Boomin says, Jake, the living legend, could you talk more about Project Ion and settlement? What does the stock market use today, and why would they need to use distributed ledger technology? So yeah, I can get a little bit more intimate or give you a little more detail on that. So today, the DTCC, or the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, they are a public infrastructure. They're not a for-profit. They clear the back-end settlement of trades between the clearinghouses and the brokers. Okay, so all of those trades that happen all the time, and they don't have a unified ledger across all of that to be able to trace all the stocks. So this is why you saw when GameStop and AMC went wild, and they actually oversold the stock on the brokers. They had to freeze, they had to halt trading, and then they pulled the stock back from people because they sold like 139% of the shares. Yeah, like that's one of the main reasons they need distributed ledger technology in a tokenized stock market, is so that they have a full accounting mechanism across all of those counterparties that are interacting, and they don't oversell a stock, and then things happen real time. So right now, all of the clearinghouses have to front that money to the broker until they settle T+1. So the next day they get it. So they have strong relationships, and they're willing to front them a certain amount of credit. But if it gets over that certain amount of credit, they're like, we're done. No more on this one. And again, that's why it was actually the clearinghouses that froze the trading on GameStop and AMC. It wasn't the brokers or the people that you were buying from, E-Trade or Robinhood or Webull or any of them. It was the clearinghouses that said, we fronted way too much money, and we know that there's mess up here. We're locking it down, and we're waiting for you guys to actually send us the money and reconcile this deal, because we're out over our skis and we're not giving you any more. If they have real-time settlement on the back end of the stock market, and they can reconcile those trades real time, you don't have that issue. So you would actually have real-time trading for stocks. So there would never be an issue where they have to halt trading for potential issues like that. People think you're trading a stock real time, but in reality, there's still, if you scratch a few layers deeper, it's like 1970s infrastructure back there. They did upgrade to T+1 last year on May 28th with the option to settle real time via digital asset. So I remember that day. I was at Consensus down in Austin, walking around. I watched Brad Garlinghouse speak on stage that day in 2024. And anyway, so hopefully that gives you a little bit better understanding of like what's there today, why this matters, and the situations in which it would improve functionality on the back end of the stock market. And then again, there's a unified ledger for all this stuff in the data so that there's not anything that's missed or falls through the cracks or causes problems. All right, let me see if I can find Miss Ashley here. And again, I apologize on the super chat if I missed it. We're going back up through the chat here, so I should get to it. We got tired of Faith the Crap. Interesting name. Oh, tired of all the crap. Okay, well, that's fair. I feel that way sometimes too. They say, Mr. Legend, 1 LLC, 2 bank account. What kind of trust would be best? I've seen from some of your other videos from Mark Kohler on YouTube, his 100% tax-free trust. I haven't seen that one for Mark. Anybody that tells you there's a tax-free trust, I'm not saying there's not. Maybe Mark knows something that I don't know. Okay. But most of the time, anybody telling you that, it's a scam. And as soon as the IRS or whoever else catches up with them, even if they've done a bunch of them, they're going to charge you a bunch of back penalties and taxes. So be leery of that. Not to say that Mark's running a scam or doing anything malicious. He's very good at marketing things and spinning things in a way that make them sound really good. And I really like that. I like Mark. I like what he does. And he is very sharp. I don't know if that's an intentionally defective grantor trust or if it's some type of waterfall trust. There's more than 80 different types of trust here in the US. Most people think of a trust as a living trust that's filed in your state, that's revocable or irrevocable, where you're the trustee and you're going to hold your house and your car and your vacation homes or your family heirlooms or gold and silver. That's the type of trust most people think about. And those are not too expensive. We set them up for $500 if you want a living trust through us, which is very cheap. Most states are, most attorneys in most states are going to charge you $1 to $2 grand at a minimum to set up a living trust. Sometimes you can find it for like $800, but not for 500. Like, we're very competitive on that. And we help you fund it and do all the stuff. So, oh, my wife is giving me the caffeinated tea.
Looking for Boomer Sooner and the Godfather.
Thank you. A wonderful wife. The tea lady, as they call her. For me to tell you what type of trust you need, I would be completely shooting in the dark. I have no idea about your, personal situation, your long-term goals, how many kids you have, if you're married, if you have philanthropic focus. Like, there's so many additional questions that we would need to ask you to be able to find out what type of trust you need. Dan Plaskett, who's on our team, helps people sort through all of that. And then also all of the other wonderful attorneys that we work with. They're going to have a full questionnaire that gives them that background and context to actually be able to give you, 2, 3, 5 options that are going to be down the lane of what's going to best fit for you. And just so people know, most centimillionaires and billionaires have somewhere between 7 and 9 types of trusts. So 7 to 9 different types of trusts, where they've diversified their wealth across those, and they use them for different means in order to be able to mitigate taxes or structure their estate, or, you can have a generational skipping trust. Trusts are also just contract law. And so you can weave different clauses in them to meet the specifications that you need. A lot of these trusts that are, a gimmick or a marketing thing, it's so that they're scalable, which I appreciate. Being a business owner, you don't, if you can kind of stamp the same thing over and over again, it makes it a lot easier to do. But selling something as the end all be all also is a red flag to me. These are all tools, and they should be appropriate for each person's individual situation. So again, if you want to reach out to our team, happy to introduce you to Dan. Probably going to need at least $500,000 in total portfolio value before that conversation starts to make sense. And if you do need the LLC, sounds like a lot of people have already structured that. We would love to work with you on that. If you want to work with us, again, you can work with another attorney in Wyoming. Awesome. But we do the EIN, articles of organization, certificate of good standing, registered agent. We'll do the banking memorandum. We do a full corporate veil service to make sure you maintain the corporate veil and the creditor protection. And we provide you with the operating agreement that's curated and tailored to this specific type of entity. We've set up over 6,500 LLCs for people to be able to manage their digital assets the right way and mitigate taxes when they're moving it in there. Anyway, so if you want that, you can go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF, 50OFFDAG-LLC. That's 50OFFDAG-LLC. And they get you everything end to end through what I just mentioned, and a consult, if you need it, for people to help you walk through things. We got Lori. She says, "Go Broncos." Awesome. I want to take my son to games. Let's go XRP. I'm sure that you'll be able to take your son to lots of games in the very near future. Excited for you and your family. We've got Armand Amaron. Again, I'm probably butchering your name, man. I'm so sorry. People butchered my name my whole life. It's, they tell me it's Claver. Obviously it's Claver, but I'm like, okay. At some point, you just don't even correct people anymore because they're going to mess it up. So I apologize for messing up your name. He says, "Hey, Jake, hope you're doing well. Is it best to wait for the reverse carry trade to happen at scale when the market drops and then buy XRP during the big dip? Or should you buy now, XRP $100 by a month in?" Again, extremely confident, 99.999999999 that things are going to play out here in December. Buying now, I think, makes a lot of sense. I don't think you're going to have the opportunity when we have the volatility in the market. Again, exchanges normally aren't up and operating when that happens. But again, do what's best for you. If you think you're going to be able to catch that falling knife, more power to you. I'm not playing with that fire. Simply Smarter says, "Appreciate you, man. Look forward to meeting someday in the mastermind. Had a call with your team. Nick, can you recap cost of LLC and trust? What are the benefits of doing the LLC before price appreciation? God bless." Good question, and appreciate the super chat. So again, if you want to set up the LLC with us, and again, I talked about a lot of the things tonight on reasons why you would want to go ahead and do that before price appreciation if you do have a larger amount of crypto. Again, seasoning in a bank account, making sure you have creditor protection, the anonymity associated with the LLC there in Wyoming, corporate veil, all those pieces. And then, the cost on the trust is $500. That's in addition to the $2,000 if you want to set up the LLC. So $2,500 gets you the LLC to manage your digital assets, holding company, and then also a living trust there in your state. I don't know anybody else doing living trust for $500 out there and helping you fund them and do all the stuff. So it's likely that we will raise that price over the long term. But we want to make sure that people have that so that they have the probate protection on these assets. And that's why we're doing it so cheap. We really don't make any money on it. It's really just to make sure you get best of both worlds in the short term. And yeah, if you got at least $50,000 to $80,000 in crypto, I think it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and get that set up. If you have less than that, it's probably better to continue to dollar cost average. If you have $500,000 to $1 million in crypto, probably should be looking at an asset protection trust or a dynasty trust or an intentionally defective grantor trust or a spendthrift trust or one of the many other types of trusts that we help people structure at Digital Legacy Advisors, which again is Dan Plaskett. If you want to reach out to info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, we can connect you with him. Lori says, "I'm confused about the reverse carry trade. If liquidity is expected to flow out of the market, causing some kind of crash, then how will the price of XRP rise to 3 digits by the end of the year? Have faith." So through the ETFs, you're going to see a rotation out of the Bitcoin ETFs and a ton of other liquidity move in on XRP all at the same time because they're going to need it and they're going to need to drive the price to where they can start using it to be able to move out of this crisis that's going to ensue. So because of supply and demand dynamics is really what it comes down to, Lori. Omar says, "Do you see Trump or Jerome Powell or the Treasury making an announcement if most of the events happened? Thanks, legend." I think it'll be the BIS. The BIS is who regulates all the banks and what they use. I think the Bank of International Settlements is probably who makes the announcement. This one is RGO. They say, "Does DWP have an in-house economist? If not, is there one on the horizon?" That is me. my man, at this time. But yeah, we will have many analysts that we're going to be hiring over the next 12 months. This person says, master of the domino strategy, $50 plus XRP before liquidity crisis. Liquidity crisis seems real soon. I think it will be during the liquidity crisis that the price moves up. I do not think it will be before that. I would love to be wrong. But I think that it's probably during the liquidity crisis that XRP skyrockets while everything else is falling. Johnny, he says, hola, what's up, man? You must be a time traveler. I was just telling my friend I don't understand how instant settlement was solved the reverse carry trade and the global debt crisis. If you watch all my videos, I try to explain it pretty clearly, but it jumpstarts the economy. It increases GDP by 2 to 3% immediately because you don't have that cost in payments. There's a ton of things that it does to be able to stimulate the economy and pull us out of a recession. The velocity of money is at an all-time low. If there's a huge reduction in M2 money supply at the time when velocity of money picks up, you'd have to do that in order to be able to offset inflation. And then they'd be able to, pay off and remove a lot of the debt if there's an appreciation on an asset on their balance sheet that they could refinance the debt against, like XRP. We've got Nicholas. He says, "Hi Jake, greetings from Germany. Glad to have you on here, dude. It's super early there in the morning for you, so thank you for watching." He says, President is supposed to flee to Qatar. And what's nearby? Oh, the Strait of Hormuz. Coincidence? I think not. Keep it up. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, again, feeling pretty good about some of the things that I've stated. Jim Rohn said that if somebody gives you $1 million, you best become a millionaire so you get to keep all the money. Otherwise, it will go back into the same hands. What are 3 skills you recommend the average Joe learn before price appreciation to keep the money? This is a good question. So, patience. If you've been holding XRP, you probably have learned that one. Setting rules for yourself. So just because you made money in one thing doesn't make you that smart. I know a lot of people that are average Joes, like you said, that have made a lot of money in one thing that they're very intelligent about, but then when they go try to venture into other things that they don't know about, they lose money. So stay in your lane. And if you're not going to stay in your lane, pick 2 or 3 lanes, learn a ton about them, and find the best people in those lanes to partner with. Would be my recommendation. And then the third skill set would be, this kind of goes along with patience probably, but deferred gratification. I believe in giving without the intent to receive or like get it back from the same person. I spend a lot of time on here because I want to help a lot of people, and hopefully, I know the universe will bring that back to me. I know that that's the way things work. I've seen it happen enough times in my life. So the more you give, the more you're going to get. And sometimes that's hard, especially if you've grown up with a scarcity mindset. If you've lived in lack most of your life and you've been in survival mode for an extended period of time, it's hard to get out of that, of just constricting everything and holding on to every little penny. And you want to give strategically, right? I'm not saying just, go blow it on a Ferrari, but give to other people, help other people, produce value in society, and that will always come back to you. And if you can do those 3 things, I think people will be very successful post price appreciation with the wealth that they're going to come into. We've got Mango Brain. He says, "Thank you, Mr. Claver. What are your thoughts on moving XRP capital into something like life insurance policy?" So you can't do that if you're domestic here in the US, not yet anyway. US and Canada cannot move in kind into a PPLI policy, but I'm glad you brought this up. So we will be going over those strategies tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. On the webinar that we are hosting, both Carl von Schwarz and myself. He's the CEO of our insurance company. We will be on there at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow on the Zoom So if you want to, go to that, I'm sure we have the link in the mastermind. So for people that join the mastermind, you'll be able to find that there. But if you don't, you can email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and I'm sure they'll share the Luma link for you to go to the webinar as well. So yeah, we would love to have you guys there, and we will explain all about the different ways you can leverage life insurance and your crypto to be able to protect and grow your wealth over the long term at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning on the webinar. We got this person. They say legend. Thank you for the compliment. Can you help me understand how the price can go to 5 digits with 1 billion new tokens released every month, even if all the catalysts happen? Huge thanks. So again, available supply and total supply and circulating supply are all 3 different numbers. And not a billion are released every month. A billion are released from the escrow, but Ripple only sells about 300 million, or they have each month this year. Last year, they sold 200 million per month. This year, they upped to another 100 million per month that they sold onto the market. Next year, I think they'll probably do the same thing. They'll probably re-escrow about 600 million if they continue to follow the same pattern per month. So not all billion tokens flow onto the market. And in addition to that, they don't always go to the exchange either. Sometimes there's 2 strategic partners and other people that are going to use that capital that also might lock it up and not use it. So that limits supply also. So I know there's a lot of FUD out there about people that, they don't understand the supply and demand dynamics and how actual macroeconomics work. And they sound compelling, and I appreciate that. But I live this every day. And so 5 digits is really the demand from derivatives. That's somewhere between $400 trillion up to $4 quadrillion in total asset value. Daily volume on that would be astronomical. In the tens of trillions of dollars on daily volume for derivatives. So if you can imagine that alongside all of the other applications that XRP is going to be settling, the demand for it's going to continue to grow. And after price appreciation, a lot of banks are going to be holding it to pay gas fees. There's not going to be a ton on the market to be able to settle all this stuff, even if it's used at a high frequency, up to 10 times per day, like was listed in Michael Barr's calculator. He was at the head of BlackRock for a period of time. He showed in his calculator, how it was supposed to get $10,000 per XRP. Both David Schwartz and Arthur Brito and Brad and a lot of other people at Ripple have talked about why it needs to be, it's made to operate at $10,000 a token. So again, you don't have to listen to me on it. There's a lot of other people that I deem and respect that I think are smarter than me that are telling you the same thing. We got Guy says, Geeski 444. I'm back in, Jake. In your opinion, what is the most lucrative way to get value from your XRP without selling it? Borrowing against it. Or, I think that we'll have a bunch of products by the end of 2026 where you're able to generate somewhere between 6 and 10%. Fairly low risk, almost no risk on your XRP. So depending on how much you have and how high the price goes, that could be very lucrative. But borrowing against it, you're going to be able to draw down huge sums of liquidity tax-free. There is an interest rate obviously associated with it, but then you can take out a life insurance policy with a small portion of that to be able to offset the difference so that, if you were to pass away, it pays off the debt and then the assets flow to your descendants. We'll talk about all that tomorrow in the webinar. William says, Jake the legend. What's up, dude? How long it takes after the reverse carry trade for stuff to totally go crazy, like after news events saying it is live? No, they're not going to tell you before it happens. It's going to happen, and then they'll report on it later. Jim says, I'll keep eyeing, appreciate the input. God bless. All right. So I think I went through this one. I think I've been through all the super chats tonight. We're right at the 2-hour mark here. Again, if I missed you for whatever reason, you can always join the mastermind. We would love to have you in there. All you got to do is use the code Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2. Again, if you do want to join the dinners, I share a lot of things at the dinners that I don't share here, and I will answer your specific questions. We would love to see you and your spouse or you and your crypto buddy come down to Dallas on December 9th. And again, all you got to do is email our team at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and they will get you that Luma event where you can join that dinner if you would like it. In addition to that, if you do want to set up the LLC, again, would love to work with you guys and the Living Trust. It's $2,000 for the LLC, and you can tack on that trust for another $500 if you want to. If you use the code 50OFF50 OFFDAG LLC, and then I'm being flagged that I've missed some other super chats here, so I'm going to go to one more spot and make sure I didn't miss any of these, especially if they are larger. Rob Keith says, thank you for being an upfront, honest guy, a man of this word. God bless you and your family. Thank you, Rob. And then we got that one. So again, to use the code on the website to get the LLC for $2,000, you just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF50 OFFDAG LLC. That's 50 OFFDAG LLC. And then last but not least, if you do want to work with Digital Wealth Partners, you want an actual advisor to tell you what to do with your crypto, we have them. We're the only people that have them. And anybody can pay for a consult, $100, and we'll get you with an advisor if you want to go to digitalwealthpartners.net. And then if you want to work with us, you do have to have your assets in an LLC, a trust, or an IRA, and they need to be at least 50,000 XRP across those in total in order to be able to work with Digital Wealth Partners. You just go to the contact us page there in order to do that. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you guys have a wonderful week, a wonderful Wednesday night, and we will see you on the next one.